Oh, hello. Good evening. It's Monday night. I'm so excited. We've had a great time on Inspired Inc. The last, I guess, this whole year has been really like some of the best episodes I think we've done so far, which has been a lot of fun. And doing them live with you guys has been a blast. And we've had kind of a little mix up from the creators that we typically have on the show. But now we're bringing it back to home base. We're bringing it back into the comic book creators that we all just know and love and flourish with. And so we're talking to Adam Lemnah. Hello, Adam. How are you, real fast?
Hey, good man. How are
Hey,
you?
doing great. I'm so happy you're back on the show. I think this is the second, third time you've been on a. We did a spotlight. I think that's what it was.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Okay.
And then obviously like drawing.
Yeah. You did a couple. You've been on every show now, like more than
Yeah.
once, which is great. You're one of the few people who have done everything more than once, and I'm
Woo.
so excited. But we have Manny Gomez. Hey Manny, we get to hang out here in this
I
virtual
know. I'm
realm.
excited, man. I mean, last time I saw you was last year at IC3, like in real life, so.
Which was crazy because like we knew each other then, but we didn't like know each other. We said hi, kind of
Yeah.
like a respectfulness hi. Like
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
you're friends with everyone here.
Like that
I'm
nod,
friends with everyone. Yeah, like we both had the same circle of stuff, but we hadn't really had a conversation yet, or
Yeah.
been formally introduced. And then I guess through Apollo, you kind of like hanging out with us and joining in, and
Yeah.
you pretty much got integrated. Now we finally get to talk in a live show, which is great.
Exactly. And I'm really excited.
Hyped. And you guys together, Relic Hunter #2 just came out. It's been
That's right.
it's been an epic in the making. Oh man,
It really
such a
is.
great
Look at
cover.
that.
I'm gonna maximize this real fast. Dude,
Look at that, dude.
that's the Adam cover right here.
Colors
You guys
by
had
Missimo.
Yeah, colored by Missimo, man. And just amazing as always. I mean, he brings so much to the table, man. It's amazing.
I've seen so much of his work and stuff. I just did a Feral Star Cats Comics and Coffee, and I saw he did
Oh,
a
yeah.
pinup for Feral Star in there as well. I gotta get him on the show sometime. He's
Mhm.
another person
Great
I think
guy.
we're aware of each other, but we haven't like spoken to establish the bond yet. It's one of those cross or through people we know each other, which is really cool about the comic book community. That you guys are both very intricately involved with. But let's talk about the book a little bit. It's a Cosmic Lion production. Is it affiliated
It
with any
is.
other of the publications that you're also affiliated with, Adam?
It's actually CLP Underground, which
Okay,
is
cool.
the imprint that we go under. It's a little bit more adult than just your regular like CLP books because we cuss and and draw, you know, dirty
Violence
stuff.
and yeah.
So
Are we the first CLP Underground? We are, right?
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh
Yep.
wow, I hadn't heard about that
And I'm
yet. That's
proud of
sick.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exciting. Um, you
So
know,
where did that come from? Where did like did you guys did Eli pitch this to you guys? Was this like an agreed upon thing? How did CLP Underground kind of come about when your involvement with that?
well, it's just the book is a little bit more adult than it's it's a little bit more adult than like most of like what CLP puts out. So Eli and I talked about it. We were sort of like, hey, because he wanted to do like a CLP underground for like more adult type stuff. And he was like, would you guys like to do that? And I was like, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, for me, that's the way to go. You know
Yeah,
what I
man.
mean? So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's kind of like I feel like this book it would be in the lines of something like Faust or like Dead World, like or even like some of the stuff that Danzig did with like Veronica, like
I was just
Yeah.
checking out some of those issues recently.
like
Uh,
so like it's definitely not for the faint of heart and definitely not for kids, but
Well,
No,
that was
not for kids.
yeah, not at
Yeah.
all.
It was so fun making your guys' promo because like I was trying to block out the nudity in the image with like your guys' name and everything. And there was ways, when you're making it anything, you're kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
exporting and you find the error. And there's moments where I'd fix like the lettering, but then it was like slightly off. And I was like, no, I need to cover a little bit of the nipple. And then I kept on like readjusting it to like cover everything. And I was like,
No Janet Jackson style
Yes.
nipple slips.
No,
You know what I mean?
no,
Like
no.
you can't have that.
But dude,
Adults only.
so tell me about your guys's you guys co-created and co-write the book as well. What's your partnership like? Where does the ideas kind of flow from? Where did this issue kind of start to begin? Because I know, Adam, you've been hacking away. I know a lot of your journey on the
Oh
book.
yeah.
You've done so much that I'm aware of already. But will we even recap some of that? Like, you worked with some great editors on this book. You kind of
Yep.
revised and chipped away till it was perfect, pretty much.
That's really, yeah, that was the process. And I mean, like, after Manny wrote the backup for issue 1, um I was like, look, I'm working on issue 2. I know you want to write. I want you to come on board, write with me. Let's figure this out. We have a similar, like, aesthetic. We have similar kind of influences, and I felt like it would be a good fit. Because Manny, we we talked about the book, and Manny really understood, like, where I wanted to go next. And where I wanted to go next wasn't just keeping it within, like, the sword and sorcery kind of genre, but to take it like that next step and make it like something completely different within that sort of world. But so for that kind of stuff, Manny was amazing. And I mean, like, he has, like, the same taste in movies and music and stuff from the period that I do. And so we already had, like, a shorthand in place, and it worked really well. And I was able to, like, bounce ideas off Manny, and he was able to bounce ideas off me. And to me, it's a really, like, organic kind of thing.
Yeah.
We just sort of, like, message back and forth to each other, and we'll send each other, like, oh hey, I want to do this here, oh hey, I want to do this there. And we sort of, like, built it into, like, into a document eventually. Wasn't that kind
Yeah.
of the way that it went?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, man.
then,
Yeah. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
and then we sort of, like, then we outlined it, and we wrote the, like, we went through, and I did, like, most of the we just did it like a script. It was like,
Hmm.
you know we kind of put together first the scenes that we wanted to have,
Hmm.
and then Manny would go back and write the dialogue for it, and then I would go back and look at it, and, like, if I thought of something, I would tweak it. If not, like, and we just kind of kept doing that throughout the entire process. But when we finished the first draft, um I sent some of the roughs that I had to Carl Altstetter, who was the co-creator of Bishop, and who I had met LA Comic Con and WonderCon and all that sort of stuff. And he gave me he brought the roughs into Photoshop, and he sort of, like, broke down for me what was working and what wasn't working. And he had liked Relic Hunter, the first issue. And his big thing for me in the second issue was, like, uh layouts, layouts, layouts. Like, everything was like, and, like, some of the one of the things that I'll say that he taught me that was, like, really important was, like, every page you should do, like, a wide angle shot. That way you get, like, a sense of the geography for the
Hmm.
page. And then, and, like, you sort of, like, begin to build around that. And when you begin to think about it in those terms, you begin to you're also thinking, like, what's the most important thing? How do we want to show this? What's the most dynamic way to show that? And then he was also like, start moving the camera around more, and, like push it, because he had seen that I had liked to move the camera around in the first book. It was like, take it to that next level. And so with that tip, that was really like super helpful. I mean, that was invaluable.
Yeah, it
you
sure was.
know and then I had done some work uh for Shelley Bond. And so we did, like, a work exchange. And so, like, I had done some stuff for her, and she then looked at the first draft of the script for us, and had us do sort of like her approach to, like, to editing. So, like, we wrote up some documents, and we talked about the things that we wanted to tell. And she sort of told us what was working and what
Hmm.
wasn't working, and, like, gave us some ideas about, like, how to, like, punch up the characters. One of the big things that she told us was, like, Lena, who is the female homicide detective in the original script, came in like 12 pages in to the script, or 12 pages, 12 pages into the script. And so like she was like, we need to, she's like a co-equal main character in the book, and she's like, so what we need to do is we need to introduce her earlier in the story. So you need to find a place where you can sort of cut away and find a way to make that work in the story that you're telling, and give her something that is going to show that she's like a hero on the same level with Asif. And so that's where the sort of like shootout that we see at the car chase and shootout that we see with her sort of came out of that. I was like, oh, there's like, I had already drawn the page with the final panel is the overhead shot of the two guys in the alley, the two crust punks with the police car going by, and I was like, well, that's sort of like a perfect kind of moment to sort of like bring her in. And so Manny and I rewrote the script and added this stuff in, and then it was like that. And then like as I would go through, like Manny and I had a really good second draft of the script like 2 years ago. And you know, as I was like moving through and like first through like rough pencils and then clean pencils and then inking and then finishing, it takes me forever. But because I was really trying to like up the quality of the art and the story and everything, but Manny had really like nailed that shit down. So it was really just like as we went, I'd be like, oh, I see this, you know, maybe we can do it this way instead of like how we initially talked about it. What do you think about that? And inevitably, I mean, Manny's always like, whatever you think is best, because this is like what's best for the book, you know. But I always want to make sure that it like makes sense to him, because if it makes sense to him, it'll make sense to the reader, because he has a really good sense of the story that we're telling and like how to tell that in a really interesting way with like a really good perspective. So from my end of things, that's how things went. From Annie's end, it might have felt like a lot of like messages at 2 o'clock in the morning from a crazy person.
But that's how we that's how we communicate anyway. So like the book sort of came about like, I don't know. I was a fan of Adam's first, you know, like I liked the Relic Hunter ash can. I reached out to you. I wrote this all in my reliquary, you know, like I bought a print from you because like I was really enamored with your art style, and I
first
felt like,
person that ever bought anything from me. Yeah,
man. So then we just started talking, and then you asked me to write the backup, which I did, and then you asked me to start co-writing the story, and like it just seemed effortless, man. Like from the moment you asked me and the moment we started exchanging ideas, it was like we were commuting telepathically or something, you know, because like I would talk to him about the idea, and he's like, yeah, exactly, in this, and I'm like, that's exactly what I was gonna say. There was never like a lull in the creating of the story. We never really got stuck anywhere. I think we both had the same vision of where we wanted this issue to go. And once we nailed like introducing the characters, it was off to the races. And I can't stress enough what Adam mentioned, like the help we got from people, as a writer, like having Shelley Bond, she freaking edited for Vertigo for, you know what I mean? Like at one of the greatest times that publisher had, her feedback was like indispensable. It made the character of Lena stronger. It made the narrative like just move so much quicker. I learned so much about editing comics just from what she did to the story, and which is something now I can sort of like look at something with a writer and an editor's eyes, because it's two different skill sets, And I think if you're able to sort of have both, a little bit of both, it's just going to make you a stronger writer. And it made the book stronger, and like Adam said, like we worked on it a long time, but we really wanted this book to be the way we saw it in our heads. Because like, I know that Adam and I had the exact same fucking vision for this book in our head. Like, and Like,
yeah, man.
and we got it, man. You know, like once I got it in my hands, like it was like we just manifested this. You know what I mean? Like it's like it just
Yeah, man.
it leaped. I think it leaped out of both our brains and right onto the page. I mean, honestly, I've collaborated with a few people, but I don't think I've ever had a collaboration that has been as effortless as it has been with Adam. Like it's just
Totally.
it's so easy, man. And like the fact that like we have a very good friendship, I think is really important. And I think that's why we work so well together, man, because it's because we just generally love working together and talking about ideas. I mean, like even when we weren't writing, we're always talking about this kind of shit. You know what I mean? So like it's natural that the book came out of that, you know, like
yeah, it's just like constantly like movies and music and like comics and like all of that kind of stuff. And then like life too, and like that was part of it too. It was like I want to incorporate like life into this book as well. So like we added in, you know, like we added in the fact Manny had great ideas about her son, about Lena's son, and like was able to like develop his character, and like that's going to lead into the next book. And it's really like it's really exciting when like you sort of like you come up with an idea and then you like spread it around and then everybody's coming up with
and then like one idea
ideas.
leads to another one, you know, like
yeah, man.
You know, I mean, I don't even know when we originally conceived of Tommy and Lena as the detectives, like we didn't really think about what life they might have outside the story, but that came in naturally. I remember just, you know, writing Lena one day and I'm like, yeah, well, she's a single mother and she has a son at home that her neighbor watches, you know, like I don't know where that idea came from, but that's just what I'm like, well, that's what it is. You know what I mean? Like, it just came to me while I was, you know, and then I remember I messaged you and you were like, dude, that's fucking perfect, man. And when I created the character, like, I didn't have that in mind. I was just
gonna say, it feels like an Abel Ferrara movie or something like that, you know, where like it feels lived in and it feels realistic. And like, you know, like that was part of what I wanted to do too, because it's like we have this opportunity to tell the story the way that we want to tell it, without any sort of like, without anybody telling us you can't do that. Like that's one thing I want to stress about Cosmic Lion is like complete and total creative freedom. So it's like in a positive way, because, you know, neither Manny or I would do anything, I think, that would like, we don't want to do anything that's going to offend people. But we do want to tell like stories that are for adults. You know, so like,
I get that.
It's like exploitation. Like you know, I'm a big horror fan. I love exploitation cinema. You know, like I grew up on like death metal and hardcore. So like all of that stuff is where we pulled from, and I think it's on the page because I love seeing the cat walk by.
He's the one that had the surgery, so it's kind of nice. I'm just like, hey, what's up? You're alive. Like,
yeah, he's doing well. That's so great. Yeah. But yeah, man, I mean, like, I don't think I've ever had a creative experience that has been like this fulfilling. And like,
I love that.
And when I got that book in my hand, it's literally one of the best things in my life was like when I got it. I was like, fuck, dude, like this is when we started talking about it, this is what we wanted, and we got it, we achieved it. And like and I couldn't have done it without Adam and everyone else that helped along the way.
Man, there's so many people that's sort of like a great segue too, because there were so many people that were involved in helping us. Also, I mean, like I gotta say too, like Chris Anderson's back cover,
dude,
and like his advice also throughout like the creation of the book, and like, you know, I would show him pages and like get his sort of read on things and send him the script, and like, you know, and there's so many people that are like that. You know, everybody who did pinups for the book, there were just so many people that were so kind after the first book and wanted to be a part of this one. I wanted to include everybody.
Man.
The book is 64 pages long, so it's like it's a real like, it's the way I wanted it to be.
And Adam's right about like the people's reactions, and it like people just wanting to contribute, like, you know, like whether it be a back cover or a pinup, like it made me feel really good. I'm like, we're obviously hitting on something that people want to see and want to read, because like, just look at the sheer number of pinups we have from so many incredible artists, you know. Like,
Adam already said I owe him one for issue 3. I was just like, yeah, I gotta maybe think about it. He's like, no, you're doing it. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to do it.
Yeah, dude,
like,
I'm stoked, man.
I flipped through these pages and I'm like, I can't believe these people like did this. You know what I mean? Like, like, you know, like,
dude,
you know, Tony Wolf,
and Tony's
like,
backup.
I was waiting.
Tony's backup is so incredible, dude. It's so good, and it's
dude,
like
Tony's
a
work is
whole other
awesome.
like, oh my god, his work. He was the first like cartoon, like indie cartoonist work that I bought when I came back to like collecting comics. So like, I was like, to have him in the book is just like amazing. It's just
and
the whole thing perfect.
And know? Tony is another part of the tribe, man. Like Tony's like pulls from the same stuff that we do, you know, like he likes the same music, you know, like, I mean, he nailed this short story. So
when I found out he was a bass player, I was like, oh, we vibe even more. I love it. Like, I was like, Tony.
And he nailed it. And like, yeah, man. And the way he just put everything together, like, I mean, like, I generally try not to be real specific when I write for the artist, but like, I had a vision for this page in my head.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know, of like the cross cut of the building and like Tommy like moving up the stairs and everything. And like, he exceeded what I saw in my head, you know, like I had a very, I think, rudimentary idea of it. But when I saw this, I was like, holy shit, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
and the way he brush inks everything, man, it's like it's so beautiful, dude. Like
there's so much energy to that story too.
Absolutely,
and the fact that story is supposed to pick, I mean, in my head, that story takes place like it's like what 5-10 minutes of Tommy getting there, running up. You know what I mean? It's like a snapshot of something that happens, and his line work just captures like that feeling where it's like it's Tommy's having a real heated moment, like the freaking like, you know, anxiety jumps off the page, the speed jumps off the page, like, and you know, I love the hooded skull. And I remember Tony telling me like, yeah, man, anytime someone gives me a chance to draw a hooded skeletal character, I know I'm in business, you know. So
dude, yeah, his stuff is so killer too. Like, I mean, Tony, it was cool. He's in the chat right now too. But I gotta get Tony on Spilled Ink or a show or sometime, because his stuff is just phenomenal as well, man. Ever since I saw it, I was like, such a good, unique. You know, I get why like you guys are going with that. You know, the CLP Underground. It makes sense for like, you know, especially with the evolution of this book. You know, you look at Relic Hunter 1 and you go into 2, it's like going from the 70s to the 80s. It's got like grittier, the story got more complex in a lot of ways. Like it had a lot of that. It's funny you mentioned that
to it, because that is kind of like sort of a meta theme that we're going with, you know, whereas
absolutely,
the next issue is gonna, you know, push it further along into the late 80s and 90s. You know what I mean? Like
it's gonna be like Blink 182 in like 3 issues. And I'm just kidding. It's like everyone's just be naked.
Man, it's like for me, this book is like my excuse to sort of like play in every sandbox that I've ever loved.
Yeah,
and so like that's the way that we're approaching the story as well. And we want to be able to pay homage to like different styles and different genres and different, you know, just different types of comics. And I mean,
to me, this issue is almost like a Canon film. If you know if you know the movies that Canon made in the 80s, you know what I mean? Like that's what it feels like. You know, it's like
it's Caliber Presents, man.
It's thank you, man. The Caliber was escaping me, but yeah, it's Caliber Presents, man. Like we wanted this to feel like a comic that you'd pull out of like some beat up, you know, dollar bin box and like, you know, some forgotten comic store somewhere that's like dusty and crowded and you're worried that the things are gonna fall off the fucking shelves on top of you and like you know, and like it smells like weed in there. It smells like a fucking cat. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
Incense, like it's just an ashtray, like
wet
ashtray at that. Like.
And then you'd pull this out and be like, Relic Hunter, what's this? A dude with a sword and some cops and some punks. And you open
There's
it
some,
up
like,
and you're like,
pot seeds inside, and like
yeah, exactly. You know, like
maybe
it,
like
it
part of a
smells
page
and it
has been
reeks.
torn away for rolling
Somebody clearly
papers,
like
you
broke
know?
up something in there and then just like
Yeah,
re-roll, you know, and
exactly,
put it back
yeah.
on the shelf and like, yeah.
No.
Yeah, man. It's,
It reminds me of this place called the Head Shop back in El Paso. It's not open anymore, but I used to go there and get used CDs with my dad, and that's where they had like concert, like, or like they had band T-shirts, and like you had the pieces over
Yeah.
here and those scales. You're like, what is all this? Like it had military stuff for no reason, and then like there's just all the used records and like all that. It was like Hot Topic, but not like commercial. You know what I mean? It was that
Yeah.
Right.
underground shop that like they try to mimic, in the early 2000s. That's so cool too, because especially the process behind doing an independent comic to get the result that you want. It's very capable. It's hard because it takes a lot of work for what you guys had to do to get to this point. A lot of people, myself included, I'm guilty of this, is that you get an idea, you want to run with it, you want to put it out. You're like, this took me a year to do. I gotta just keep doing it fast. But like you taking the time to break down the story like over and over again, and you hear about I guess more famous like creators of all types, comic creators, screenplay writers, all this stuff, like having an idea, putting it away and just rewriting it or throwing it away right when they, finish doing it, and then they just redo the whole entire story from memory for what's best, like finding techniques to break down your story over and over again until it's like what you want. You're chiseling away at it. It's like a statue, you know what I mean? And that's what you guys really did for this.
Totally.
And I think you got the product. Obviously, the product is like worth the wait, and you guys learned a lot. And I'm sure this issue 3 is going to have like a crazier reaction and turnaround and new approaches, and like things that you learned from this are going to carry on from that. What were some of the? I know Adam, you named 1 or 2, but like, is there anything else that you really learned about the process behind all this that you're excited to do better for the next issue?
Oh yeah, I mean, from my end of things, for sure. I mean, there's so many things that come out of finishing a book like this, and then being able to go back and look at how you approached it. I mean, a lot of it is going to be, for me, is going to be in like finding ways to move more quickly, and and with like less like desire for perfection, because like it becomes this thing where it's like I personally see like every flaw on every page, and I'm like, oh,
I don't see a single one, but that's just me.
And that's the thing, man.
That's the
So,
artist
like,
condition too. You know what I mean? Like,
but
one of those.
that's how I feel about like the dialogue, and like for Adam, when you mentioned earlier, like like about speeding things up, like I didn't mean like I didn't nod because of you speeding up, like you working. Like what I want to do, like going forward, and what I learned from this is like this issue I relied a lot on dialogue because it was introducing the characters, finding out what their personalities are. What I want to experiment with now is writing less dialogue, whereas like how can I as a writer bring that kind of energy to the project without having to have like the characters talk. So for instance, I've been staring at the Larry Hama like G.I. Joe issue that's like the silent issue with Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's certain sequences in issue 3 that I want to be just pure unadulterated action. Like whereas this book starts fast, has a couple action scenes, and then kind of slows down so you can let the story build. Issue 3 is gonna be like a gasket running, like an explosion, man. Like it's just it's just gonna be such a different feeling from this.
Have you? I mean, this is a little random, and well, he's somewhat indie now, I guess. You know what I mean? He does his own publication. But have you checked out Joe Quesada's Substack, his newsletter?
I have not.
Dude, it's really good. I'm not gonna lie.
A couple of one. Yeah, there was one that I just read. Like less than 2 weeks ago, where he was talking about the first time he was in the Marvel offices. Oh my god!
Oh yeah, that was a good one too. Yeah, that was. I've read like 4 of them in the last.
I should check it out. I mean, I have Substack stuff, so
dude, he talks a lot about pacing in the last couple of them, and it's so good, and it's so enlightening, and it's how to hit like certain beats for exactly what you're wanting to do. And I think that's like it's a really good resource if you're trying to focus on that type of storytelling to measure up to that.
It is because I learned so much from like the people that I worked with on this book. It's like one thing that, like, I mean, subconsciously, of course, as a reader, I knew it, but like as a creator, like I learned the importance of like the page turn. You know what I mean? Like how if you're going to choreograph an action scene, you want that page turn to happen at a moment, so when the reader turns a page, it's like, holy shit, you know what I mean? It's like you don't want to just turn the page in the middle of an action scene. Like you almost want it to have like a rhythm and a beat to it, you know?
Absolutely.
Like, and I think, Adam, like your skills and your career as an editor, like really sort of
It shows in that.
Come to be a big part of that. And I think I learned a lot that from you is, you know, like the importance of like when to come in and when to come out, you know, of a situation.
That's it. I mean, it's all tension and release. It's all,
man. Yeah.
You know, like building up to a certain point and then giving a little bit, breaking the tension, and then back in again, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what you learn, you know, as a film editor, as a storyteller. It works in any medium, and where you're telling a narrative story, you know, in order to keep people hooked, you know, you gotta. And this, you know, one of the things that really helped me with the first issue was because I was doing it with Next Panel Press, I was releasing it every 2 weeks. And so it would be just like a page every 2 weeks. And it's like, you got to figure out how to tell a story in an interesting way that's going to create a cliffhanger at the end of every page, and then bigger cliffhangers over the course of the story. And that's really what that book taught me in terms of comic book storytelling. And this time we really tried to take that to the next level, where it's like, okay, well, not every page is going to have a cliffhanger because we're not releasing it that way, but we're going to build these moments up and then pull away, build and then pull away, so that we can continually hook the reader back in.
It's like we don't necessarily have like chapter breaks, but it does feel like there are chapters within the story. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
This happens, and then this happens, and then I think each chapter, I mean, I guess maybe sequence is probably a better word for it, like builds up to the next one. You know, that's why Shelley's like you know, advice of like bring in Lena earlier. You know what I mean? Like that just opened up the story, and actually that scene just made her character even more dynamic and more three-dimensional. You know,
totally.
Because like when you're introduced to her, she's this badass cop that like just, you know, kills this fucking guy that she's been chasing forever because she knows that, you know, the system ain't gonna do anything about it, you know. And then several scenes later, you have a tender moment with her and her son and her neighbor, and like, you know, that dichotomy just makes the character so much stronger.
And that's cool too. Like being able to, I mean, Shelley's like a hero of mine. I was actually just catching up on Filthy Grammar, like her new newsletter.
Oh, dude, I mean,
like
her
it's so good.
Her stuff is indispensable if you create comics. Like you're a fool if you don't pay attention to what she has to say.
And having that like insight from, you know, someone that, I mean, but you're a fan of, you kind of admire. It was like when I got to talk to Brian McDonald like 2 weeks ago. That was just like, and Shelley was one of those interviews. I was like one of my top where I was like, I need to, this is a dream come true type of thing. I never thought I'd get that chance. And you keep up with them and you just realize like how much insight is within it and how much they literally kind of repeat themselves and they're telling you the same things over and over and over, and how hard it is sometimes to process. But you're just like, this is why they're repeating it so much. It's because it takes all of us a while to like, oh, okay, I see what you mean. I see what you mean now. I just had to do it and mess it up, and that way like it makes sense. And like Shelley's she's brilliant with that. She's really good at finding ways to make comics such a clear and powerful tool to use to tell stories, you know. She's, even with her like current Substacks, if you follow her storytelling, it's just like, okay, if you're gonna get advice from her, that's what you want to run with. Like this is a professional, and to have your book go through that process, it kind of goes through the ringer, you know, and you come out a different kind of creator at the end of that.
She's been one of those editors that like when I've been in the comics my whole life since I was a kid. I started buying them on a spinner rack at 7-Eleven, you know, like, and then, you know, of course I went to the comic store when I finally figured out that there was such a thing. And, you know, always a fan of the medium. And, you know, from the very beginning, I always latched on to certain writers or certain artists. But Shelley is like one of those editors that I started paying attention to the editor of the book, and started and being like, well, if this person's gonna edit this book, I don't really even to know who the writer or the art. Even if I don't know who the writer or artist are, I'm still gonna pick it up because of the editor. And
totally.
I realized the importance of editing, especially in a comic book. I mean, I'm sure it's the same in movies and in novels. You would know more than I do, Adam, when it comes to, because
it's a taste thing. That's what it boils down to, is like a taste thing. First of all, you're the first audience. As an editor, you're the first audience, but you're also a taste maker, but you're also there to interpret the taste and the storytelling of the person that you're working with, of the director, of the writer, whatever. In the case of comics, the creator and the writer and the artist. And your job is to not guide it to where you think it needs to go. Your job is to guide it to where they think it needs to go in the best way possible. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to have like an effect on things. That doesn't mean that you can't have an opinion.
I think
you need to have an opinion and a perspective. And that's really what I mean. Like Shelley has a perspective, she has an understanding of who she is and what kind of book she wants to make. And then she understands the people that she's working with and the stories that they're trying to tell. And she takes it seriously. And that's another thing too, is like, she takes it seriously as a professional sort of thing, like you do as a professional storyteller. You take it seriously. So it's not something that you're just like shooting the shit about. It's something that you feel very strongly about. Like, yes, you need to tell the story in a more clear way, because that's going to help you reach more readers, but that's also going to help you be a better storyteller in the next thing that you do, because you're going to have learned how to tell a story in as clear a way as possible. And you're going to learn in your writing, in your art, what works and what doesn't work. And it's going to be sort of a learning experience so that you can get better. And she's really, really good at like pointing these things out to you and not making you feel like an idiot when you do it, because
she's great.
She's seen the same fucking mistakes a million times, especially from like guys like us who are non-professional comic artists and writers. Well, now professional, but at the time definitely more in that like limbo sort of area where it's like you're creating something and building an audience and you're not quite there yet, but the next thing is going to be big and it's just going to keep getting bigger. It's really funny, like the next issue of Relic, like this one, the main story is 31 pages. In the last issue, it was 26 pages. The next one, the main story is going to be like 50 pages, man.
I know.
It's going to be a big.
Yeah, man. And, going back to Shelley for a moment, like you said, she worked with us like, we were non-professionals, but she didn't treat us that way. She treated
not at all.
She treated it with the respect that I think she treated any project that she would edit on,
Absolutely.
And like she took it seriously. She took like what we wanted to do seriously, like she understood what it meant to us, and she wasn't afraid to be critical. And
yes, in a good way.
In a good way. And
I've started. You need to hear.
Yeah. And I've started dabbling in some editing myself. I've edited a couple of things for Cosmic Lion, and like I've learned that like being an editor is sort of like you're simultaneously like the biggest fan and the biggest critic of the project. And that's really the way that you have to approach it, because at the end you just want it to be the best that it can be, and that's what any creator wants. So what I love about comics, man, and maybe I'm going on tangents here, is like it's just the collaborative nature of it, man. Like it I also grew up like being a punk rock kid, so like we always all work together to put on a show, to make a zine, to do a flyer. You know what I mean? It required many hands. And the way that this book was created, and honestly, the way that Cosmic Lion is run feels very much like that.
Totally.
And I would not change that for anything in the world. And I think that's what makes it so fucking awesome. And what like everyone keeps saying that, oh, you know, comics are dying. No, they're not, man. I think comics are probably at one of the best periods they've ever been in. There's so many amazing comics out there, man. Like I mean, I read stuff from the big two all the way down, man. But I can honestly tell you, like, that there is a comic book out there for everybody in the world right now.
Oh yeah,
and I think it's one of the most powerful mediums that you can use to tell a story. Like, we're like inherently wired to read them. Like, no one ever taught me how to read a fucking comic book. I just read one and figured it out, you know? Like it just I don't know what it is about the medium that it does, but it just works that way. And I mean, I love music, I love movies, I love novels, but comics are my favorite creative medium. I feel like it's the one that I can express myself the most with.
I mean, you get the greatest writer in the world, and then the greatest artist in the world. You put them in a room together; they're going to produce a comic. You know what I mean? That's what's probably going to be the outcome at that point.
Yeah, exactly, man.
And it's so great that, like, what's great about the approach of what you guys were able to do, and to do things like with Shelley Bond in, you know, particular, is like you focus on the storytelling. Like, it's not just, you know, these panels on pages, and just, you're not trying to just get an idea that's whatever. Like, you guys actually have someone who's talking about storytelling, which is different from writing, from just drawing. Like, storytelling is an entire like facet of comics that, you know, indie creators you know, this is no like bash to anything, but it's the one thing that's lacking with a lot of indie books, because of like the process and the excitement you get behind drawing and just producing a comic. But being able to take your time and focus on the actual storytelling and world and flesh that out, like, that takes a lot of effort and a lot of containment, and also it takes a lot to get that much feedback from people, and finding collaborative partners that you guys can lock in with, you know, like, that's the greatest gift too, like being able to be there for each other. Like, it helps the output, it helps the production, it helps when times get rough too. You know what I mean? Having a partner that understands and can work with you through things, and life gets in the way. Like, I'm sure this book took a while, just, you know, just because it's what, 64 pages to be drawn, and you're having people submit artwork, you're putting it together, you're getting editorial stuff, but also like I know, like, you guys both, I know what you both do for a living.
So life gets,
like, life gets busy. Like, we have pets, we have family, we have friends, and then there's just things that happen. Like, to produce a book and actually have that, you know, level of excitement after years of hard work. Because now actually, like, it's time to push this book for the next couple of years. Like, now the work begins, technically, you know, like, you were just like waiting for this moment, and now you got to market it for the next couple of years, you know? So
man,
you can't be tired of it yet.
The next one out in a year instead of, you know, or 6 months instead of,
and
you know.
So how is the progress on like 3 with that mindset? Like, after all this, like, going into issue 3, like, is there excitement? Is there just like more drive to do it? Like, what's your like timeline that you're actually aiming for this too?
I mean, totally. Timeline isn't fully set yet. I'll tell you, the story is written. The script is in progress.
Cool.
You know, I did one sort of like fun piece that was sort of like inspired by something that's going to be happening in the book, you know. So like, there's like, that's for me, that's like my process, is I like to do like a piece or two that's like sort of in the world of the book, and sort of like gets you like in the mindset of and the genre of what you're doing. And then you know, once the script is ready, then I'll send it off to a few people, and then I want to hit the ground running as far as like getting, you know, roughs and layouts for me are sort of the same thing. I use in Procreate, I have years ago, Ed Pisker did a sheet for, it's just a sheet of you know, blank pages,
cool.
basically on one sheet. And when you joined their Patreon, you could download it. And so when I use that for like every book, it's got like 24 pages on it or whatever. And so you can go through and then in Procreate and do or you could print it out and do roughs on it by hand, like however you want to do it. But you have 24 frames on the page, and then you're off to the races essentially at that point.
Yeah, and Adam's right. Like, the story for this is we've already broken the story. Like, we already know where the characters are going to end up at the end of this. We already know where it's going to go to even after, we have an end game for it, and I think just the nature of where the story is going, I think the creative process is just going to get quicker.
Yep.
And
Totally.
that intensity is only going to carry over into how the story feels, I think. Because right now it's like starting to boil, and like I think like issue 3 is when it's going to start to boil over, and then the fucking pot explodes. You know what I mean? Like
And that's the cool part about like this time you guys took on issue 2 is that you kind of need that issue to be like, how many lessons can I learn? And and then it's just going to elevate stuff. You can do it piece by piece. Everyone finds their own journey with that. But like, I love how much time you guys took to let this one breathe.
And the thing is, all that time and working on this, it just made me a better writer.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've always thought I was okay, but like now I almost have the confidence, like to be like, you know what, dude, I did a damn good job on this issue, and now I feel confident that I can only improve.
Yep.
And that's my goal, is just to get
absolutely.
better and better and better and better. Like I don't want to stop, and Adam pushed me to be a better writer, like everybody that helped us on
Manny pushes me to be a better artist, because he's like, let's do something like this, and I'm like, I don't know how to draw that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes you do, man. Yes you do. Like.
And I get that too. Like the more I draw, like I would hate to draw one of my scripts. That's why I do these 1-page stories, because I'm like scared, and so I'm just like, I would never draw something I wrote. Like,
I don't know. I'll tell you something, man. It's kind of freeing in a way to have a script, because it's like, okay, I know what I need to accomplish on this page now. And so the way that we did our script, we wrote it like a film script to begin with.
Oh, cool.
And then we went through and we broke it down page by page, and then panel by panel. Yeah. And it was sort of like, okay, I want to have this, and this. And so like for me, like when it came to like roughing, once we had this is one thing that I learned. I like to have a script fully finished and the panels there before I start doing roughs, because like my layouts and my roughs are sort of like, I'm doing layouts in my head while we're doing the panel stuff, right? So then when I get to the page, I'm like, okay, but I'm not doing like how I want to draw the panel or whatever. It's just like, okay, in this panel I want to do this panel I want to do this, whatever,
like
whatever.
This action happens here, this action happens there, like how we're gonna lay it out on the page, like I think that comes later, but like we definitely,
then, like, when I get to that, it's like I have the script and it's broken out, so I can look at it and I'm like, okay, this page has 5 panels on it, this page has 4 panels on it. Okay, this is going to be a fast one because it's 4 panels, and it's a lot of close-ups because there's like talking. Okay, what can I do to like, okay, so one of those I want to make like from talking to Carl, one of those I want to make like a wider shot, and then like I don't want it just to be back and forth, so one of those should be like a 2-shot. You know what I mean? So then it starts to like, you start to be like, okay, I want to keep things like rolling in a creative sort of sense. So it's like, okay, maybe I want to start this page like, like overhead instead of like straight on, or like shooting up or something like that. You know what I mean? So like
the overheads in this are like, to me, are one of my favorite things, man. Like they're like you don't really see that too much in comics, like that overhead establishing shot, and it's so effective, man. And seeing it like as a writer, I'm like, man, like these are tools that I'm not an artist, you know what I mean? Like I got very rudimentary like artistic skills, but watching Adam create and watching artists create in general just makes me a better writer, because it's like now I start to think visually as well as I do, like with like dialogue.
Absolutely.
Like, dialogue was always my favorite thing to write, what I always felt was my strong suit, but like I said, like with issue 3, I want to push myself out of that comfort zone. I want to try and write something with less dialogue. I want to be able to write something that the artist can do completely visually, yet still make it feel like I had some kind of contribution to what is going on.
Finding that way to
100%.
as both artist and writer, like understand different perspectives and different shots and angles, like that is one of the best things you can have in your arsenal to keep
Mhm.
things like fresh. And I mean, you could even just go with the Bollywood 22 panels that are, phenomenal. And that helps
Yeah.
Totally.
tremendously to help get through some blocks. But like the more fun you could like have with that camera and the more you could kind of envision things and kind of
Mhm.
like play with that, like the cooler your comic's gonna be. Like you have to do it properly. Like, don't just like you by all means fuck around, but like also
Yeah.
like make sure it makes sense in the story. But like that's the
Yes.
cool part about it is that you could really Brandon DePillis does this so well in his books. Phenomenal artist, and he does these really cool angles all the time, and that's what I was noticing a lot with Relic Hunter too. Like you're playing so much with the camera, and you're doing shots where I was just like staring at the page for a bit, just trying to like process like the layout for that page to get to where your inks were. You know what I
Like
mean?
like
Like really mapping stuff out. And I was just like, wow, like it's a fun book to just stare at because of that.
Oh,
And
thank you.
you don't see it a lot, to be
like
honest.
one of my favorite pages is this one here. Like when
Oh, here you go. Yeah.
after Asif gets arrested, for killing the two crust punks, and you got Tommy and Lena showing up, and just like the timing of this, like how you're able to capture timing on a static page, Adam, is amazing. You got the opening of the trunk, the lifting of the trunk. You don't even have the reveal, and the panels are small enough so that like your eyes aren't going down yet, so like it feels like a reveal. They open the trunk and they see the sword, and just like that ending where Tommy's like, "Yep, Conan the fucking Barbarian." Like it, it's like I don't know. It's very cinematic, man. Like it feels like a scene in a movie, and like I can almost picture the quick cuts, click, 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 boom. And like
I mean, it's that scene is totally. I totally cribbed that from Pulp Fiction, man. At the
oh yeah,
beginning,
man, of course.
that's
Like yeah, yeah,
that's one of
and
the things. It's
the
like I've worked with a lot. So like I obviously, I'm a film and TV editor, so I've watched a million movies. I've watched a million TV shows. I've seen thousands and thousands of hours of footage. I've seen good directors and bad directors and in between directors and amazing directors do work. And I've listened to people, talk about their philosophy and everything like that. And it's like some of the things that I learned there, I definitely try and bring to the page. So like, always keeping the camera moving. That's key
yeah,
when you're doing something. And if you look at like the best filmmakers that are out there, they're always moving the camera in some particular way. Like there's a great video that I love to send people. I'm pretty sure I sent it to you, Manny. It's a breakdown of Spielberg's camera movements in Jaws, the way that he
yeah,
moves the cameras, and it goes from setup to setup to setup to setup, ju- without cutting. And that's the
yeah,
thing. That's the way you can learn to edit without cutting, is
yeah, man.
reframing the image in
Yeah,
different angles and from different spaces, bringing people into foreground and background. And that's another thing too, is like you have to think in terms of foreground and middle ground and background when you're creating these sort of images. So like, you might have somebody walking in from further away, they come in to focus over, two or three panels, and but you're thinking backwards at that point, you're timing it out. Then the person who's reading it can, we all know how long it takes for a person to move
yeah,
that number of feet. So then you get a sense of the time that's passing in the
yeah,
story. And so there's little things that you can do like that to like help build in that tension and release, that movement, that
yeah,
motion. But that's also like I'm also constant, like the way that I think is in terms of movies, because I've just been doing this for 20 plus years now. So it's like, it's like you start to, when I think about the script, I'm thinking about it in terms of visually, like how I'm going to approach the scene and tell the story of the scene in a way that is like interesting. It brings you in, and then it's something that you learn. Like you don't just want to go back and forth between people talking. You got to have like sometimes. And I get sometimes I get annoyed because I'm like, oh, I got to do another background. And a few of these panels, I like loosened it up a bit and allowed it to breathe without a background. But it's like a lot of the time I'm trying to build in that depth of field. So like there's like backgrounds in there and everything. And it's like, that just helps you to tell the story in a more,
Yeah.
convincing kind of way, at least to
Yes.
me, like detail is everything. And I mean, like, that's something, if you look at like the best artists, they all have their own way of like moving the camera and bringing detail to an image.
It's like
And
creating the
that's
geography of the scene, like
yeah,
I mean, comics are like a two-dimensional medium, but like I think if you do them right, you create a three-dimensional feeling world. Like you feel the movement, and you feel like the depth of field, and you feel like the character
totally.
moving from one panel to the other. Like that's another thing I learned about when writing this is like the importance of like where that. So yeah, I write the scene, but like the way Adam breaks up the scene into panels like is vastly important because it's gonna create the pacing
Totally.
and unlike movies, this is a static medium, so you can't just follow the character, like you gotta
Right.
you gotta break it up, and knowing what moments to show is so important.
And
That's
also
that's
what
one thing
builds
I learned
motion
about
into it.
writing too, where it's like, okay, so
Yeah.
like I gotta write with this in mind, like it's almost like I'm starting now to sort of write with a more of an artist, with a more of an artist, like look at things, I pay
Absolutely.
much
I
more
mean, it's like,
attention. I after working on Relic Hunter 2, I read comics differently, which I think is amazing. It's really, as much as I love the medium, like creating a book and like the people that I created it with, like has just made me appreciate the medium even more, see it in such a different way. Like I didn't realize how much was going on subconsciously in my mind when I was reading a comic, and now I understand it, and like I fell in love with the medium even harder. Like, which I didn't even think was possible.
And we were talking like Jesse Lonergan. We were just talking about like I'm starting, especially drawing now. That more as much drawing as I'm doing is that I'm not even looking at a lot of like comics in terms of the dialogue and the story and the pacing. I'm observing the art like 20 times more than I ever
Mhm.
did before. Because before it was just like I can't do this. Like I just gotta enjoy the writing and the pacing and how that like and I got that. And now that I'm like drawing, I'm just like I'm like I could skim through the writing so fast and be like cool. But like seeing with the art and the pacing and he's right. Look at like what you guys do on the script and what you're able to translate into the pacing of the art, Adam, is like just so vital because it could go from either stiff and clunky and just like how do we go from thing to another to like how fluid you are, especially with those action sequences and just uncoverings and the way that the story just like kind of progresses. You're doing stuff that like when you go back at Relic Hunter 1, you could see growth between the two. And that's the funnest part about picking up
I
issues
hope
like
so.
that between one or two. Yeah, of course. But that's fun about like indie books versus like mainstream books is
Oh,
that you could
totally.
see the growth between issues. Typically in indie books and in mainstream, you'll be like, oh, this is the run, and it's very, which is a great skill to have, is to be
Oh, yeah.
consistent. But like, I love seeing that like growth, and even with just small things from like pacing from panels to another, it's cool to see that because you're like,
Well,
oh, I love how they examine the
Totally.
craft that much extra.
like I'm sure Adam agrees with me, but like I want every issue to be better than the last one. Like that's the
Oh,
Yeah.
the
yeah.
fucking goal. You know what I mean? Like and then the one after that even better. So like when I like as much as I love issue 2 now, like when issue 4 comes out, I want to look back at issue 2 and be like, man, we didn't have shit. Now we're doing shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that.
I
Although,
mean,
so
it's like
what's the point
it's
of
that
creating if
James
you're not
Cameron
going to do
approach
that?
to things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like every film should be better than the last one, man. And I mean, like, I think about these, we put in as much time as you would put into making a
Yeah.
film, into
Yeah.
something like this, so I think about it in those sort of terms. And it's like each one we should progress. We should keep digging deeper, figuring out what's working and what's not working,
Pushing each
refining
other
our
and
process. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
Adam and I are great at that, at pushing each other to be better. You know what I mean? Like we're not afraid to be like, you know what? Like, what if we what if you do this or you do that? And like, we've never steered each other wrong. And I think
Not
that
yet.
no, not yet. And I think we've only made each other better creatively in our respective fields. You know, like I said earlier, man, like I'm a better writer now because of this fucking book, you know? And as much as you know that I loved your art from the beginning, you know, like,
oh yeah,
like
I mean, whatever. Yeah, no, this book is way better.
Exactly.
I mean, like I see the progress myself, and it's like I look back at the beginning, the first pages of the first book, and you know, this was something that I thought about initially when I was going to release the first book, because you know it had taken a year up to that point, and I had progressed from the beginning to the end of that book, and it's like, should I go back and redraw some panels here, you know, so that it's more consistent throughout? And I was like, you know what, no, because like it's as much of a record of a time and a place for me as it is anything else. And you know, I don't think that, you know, the roughness of the artwork at the beginning takes away from the storytelling.
No, at all.
And just like refining it as I go, it's like then I'm, you know, creating a real record, and you're seeing like some kind of progression in a way that like psychologically makes you feel like the book is moving in a weird way too.
Yeah, man, yeah.
I had that same like notion with this little zine I'm putting together. The little book I've been drawing on Spilled Ink, the Stoned Wars, my little Star Wars thing.
Nice.
But like I looked at the first like 3 pages and I'm like, man, these are terrible. But I'm like, and then I you know, you flip 2 more pages and I'm like, I'm not just gonna like redo that or do anything. I was like, it's cool seeing where I went from page 1 to like page 11, and I'm like, that's I think that's just fun in itself.
People like that too, man.
Yeah.
People do like to see the progression, and there's so many people who have told me like, oh, your art has gotten so much better in the second book, and it's like, well, I mean, I don't think that you can draw every day without getting better.
Yeah.
If I am drawing every day and getting worse, then I have a real real problem. But like it,
but it's refreshing to see that growth with some people too, you know. And I love seeing a lot of books come out and everything, but I really love when I'm just like, oh, you're evolving. Like that's the cool part.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
that's the goal, man. I mean, I think
fun.
as any artist will tell you, like you want to keep evolving, like, because if I reach a point where I don't, all right, so this is as far as I've come as a writer, why fucking even keep going at that point? You know what I mean? Like
you can tell, like, because if you're not challenging yourself, like you're stuck, you know?
And you gotta force yourself to be uncomfortable, and you know, and you gotta
100%
force yourself to be, you know, critique your own and be able to look at your own work and be like, man, no, this sucks. I can't.
You gotta write stuff.
Working. You know what I mean?
Like draw stuff that is outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah,
like Manny is saying, and outside of your skill level.
Yeah, and
you're not just gonna be straight up. Like just draw it, man.
Yeah,
like
and
don't.
This has been said by
try and like you might not be able to do it, but you'll understand at the end. Maybe so. Here's like a really great story. So in the first book, there's a sequence where the Templars are chasing Asif and his girlfriend through the streets of Aleppo, right? And I wanted to have this one particular shot where they're like climbing up a wall and we're looking down on them, and it was like, you know, I tried, and I tried really hard, and I was like, I just can't get it right. It doesn't look good. It's not working for me. So I rethought it, and I was like, okay, if I break it into 3 panels and I draw the city and I show them like moving through like this area, like then I can actually condense the amount of time that it'll take to get through this particular scene, and then I don't have to draw it this way. And it kind of like opened up, and that little sequence of 3 panels where you see them moving across. So many people were like, I love that. I love those particular panels because they're moving through there. And it became sort of like this thing where it was like, oh, this was a solution because I couldn't draw what I wanted to really draw. So I drew this instead, and it actually ended up working better. And so that's one of the things that you gotta like figure out for yourself, is just like, what's your solution to these problems, man? Like, and your solution is your style.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, man. Like that's one thing that I've heard so many times, and it's like, style is not something that you consciously are creating.
Right.
Style is how you deal with fuck ups and problems in your work.
Yeah, how you get
Like
over the
how you
hurdle.
fix
Like,
that
yeah,
shit,
Yeah.
or like how
yeah,
you approach something, how you figure out how to do it and tell the story in a way that's like interesting is like that's your style, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
That because what that is that your solution to that problem is unique to you.
Yeah,
Nobody else is going to come to the same conclusion and come to the same solution when it comes to drawing something that you are. So it's almost like a subconscious thing, man. And it really helps you to sort of like free your mind, because like there were times on this second book where I was like really nervous about particular scenes that I wanted to draw, or particular shots or whatever. Like this is really complex and I'm not sure I can do it. And then I thought back to that moment and I was like, well, if I can't figure it out, then I'll figure it out and I'll tell it the way that I can tell
yeah.
it. And
Same.
there was a particular here was one particular scene for me initially for this page here, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
like one of my absolute favorite pages, right?
Yeah, man.
And that's because like every single panel on this page
Wow.
changed as as I was like drawing the rough for it, because I was like, first I wanted to do the whole page as like a splash page of the outside of the building, and I was like, I've got too many splash pages already, so I'm going to do a half splash for this. But how am I going to show, what do I want to show there? Okay, I want to show her walking through the building, but I don't just want to do like front shots. So like in my original breakdown, I had like all these shots of her from the front or the side or whatever walking up the stairs. And then it finally got to the point where I was like, you know what? I just want to do like one of those shots where you're looking
Yeah.
down from the top of the staircase. I was like, I have no fucking idea how to draw that. And I was like, that's what I gotta do.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know, like that's what I gotta draw.
yeah.
So
It's like you
and
said,
that's how you like,
pushing yourself, man.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Kind
like
of like
with the
the
next
the-
issue, like I want to push myself. Like I said, less dialogue, like
Right.
more expression through action, and that's writing, like I've been studying like movies like the John Wick movies, which I think are amazing in the way that they use action to tell a story, like
Yeah.
with a
Super
character
fun.
that barely speaks. John Wick maybe says 20 words in the entire series. Like I'm probably off, but probably not by much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you get a complete sense of the character, don't you? And
Totally.
as a writer, like my comfort level has always been talking. I grew up on Tarantino. I grew up on Kevin Smith. Like these are my influences. But having now like worked with an artist and in a visual medium, I see it differently.
Yeah. I kind of get annoyed
I
when
mean,
there's too much sometimes now. Like, and
Yeah.
I grew up with the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the theme of the episode, like looking at your art and knowing how to break it down to construct it into what it really is.
And you can't be in love. Like you have to be able to not be so in love with what you're creating that like you're blind to like its like deficiencies or like where it can be improved. Like you got to be able to look at your script and be like, this part here kind of fucking sucks. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not hating on yourself. Like you're only wanting to make it better. Like it's, and that's also come with me as a writer. Like having worked on editing, it's like, all right, well, like you can't be afraid to be like, this isn't working. We got to throw it out and we got to start over.
Right.
Some of the greatest
great
projects
rule
have
of
probably.
thumb- Oh no, finish, Manny. I'm
Some
sorry.
of the greatest projects have been like that. Like the first draft is pure garbage. You know what I mean? Like
Totally.
I think Stephen King says that. Like he's like, your first draft, if you think your first draft doesn't suck, then you need to get out of this business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like your first go
Yes.
ahead, you're not gonna have a masterpiece on your first draft. That is completely illogical to think.
But it's still good when you finish the first draft. That's the thing.
Because you
like,
have
it's still
steps.
a complete.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everything.
Yeah.
Storytelling is just like art. Storytelling is a process of revision. Okay,
Yeah.
like going back and figuring out what's working and not working. It's the same for writing as it is for drawing, as it is for filmmaking, any
Music,
kind of medium where you're telling a story.
I play a little bit of
Going
music, and
back.
and it's like going back and being like, like let's take this part out, like I like it's all revision, man. And I think Brandon, you said earlier, it's like how this book felt like we were chiseling away. It's like, when we started, we had a fucking 2001 monolith sitting there, you know what I mean? And then Adam and I are there like chiseling away at the excess until you're left with like what you want. It's like sculpting, like I've learned that all art disciplines are a lot more similar than people think. And Adam, you nailed it. It's like revision is so important. Going back and looking at what works and what doesn't work and changing it, like it should be in constant change. Like our art should be moving all the time, and like
it's like once you have that first draft, the hard work is really done at that point.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But the hard work is also really beginning at that point too, because it's like, okay, you've got something on the page at that point. All right. And this is the same for roughs as well. It's like, okay, you've got something on the page, but it's not clear, it's not finished, it's not ready, but you have something that you can now think about. You have a structure that you can think about. You have a vibe. You have a rhythm that you can think about. And all of these things are really, I mean, so much of this stuff, like there are obviously ways that we can improve our storytelling and things like that. But there's so many things that you just have to sit back and sort of like give yourself room to feel the rhythm of a piece and feel the flow of a piece. That's something that I've learned in filmmaking as well, is like, your first draft is always, like Manny was saying, your first draft is always going to be terrible, but it's also the most useful because that's your starting point. Because zero is not really a starting point. That's
the blank page. The blank page is not your starting point. I think to me the starting point is the very end of what the first thing you put on that blank page.
And that's what's cool too, because like once you get to that first end, you're like, okay, I've done this, and then you do the next step, which is like the roughs, and then you're like, okay, I did that. And every time you hit that next level of completion, the next step feels more like possible. But until you do that first step of completion, it's all going to seem impossible too.
Yeah.
And like, even when I do art, like whenever I draw, like the first 10%, I'm like, this rules. And then I hate it until like 95%. Like I'm like, I need to restart. And then I get to 95%. And I'm like, actually, this is pretty good. I could do this. Like, but it takes like that entire, whatever, 85% of just suckage and hating it, and then you're just like, I got this. And then because when it's complete, you're then confident, and that's what's the cool part. And it takes time, and I love that. I mean, you guys have been on a great journey with the, I love just like, this is all about growth. It's all about breaking yourself down and finding room for growth, and that goes with being partners, with being an artist, with being a writer, with working with different team members and contributors.
Absolutely.
Like, it's all about just like taking a breath and letting it grow, because rushing the product, you wouldn't have been nearly as happy as you would have been.
Not at all.
And the other thing is like having people around you that are open to critique and open to having collaborators that are actually able to take critique without getting upset about it. I mean, like being teachable in a certain sense is like a really, because
always
like,
we're all students, and you have to keep that everyone's a student mindset.
The moment you don't, that's a great point, Brandon, because the moment I feel like you want to go through life, not even just creatively, like every aspect of your life with a student mindset. Like I want to know more tomorrow than I knew today, whether that's about making a comic or about the world or about myself or about my friends. You know what I mean? Like constant growth is vital for human growth, and it's certainly vital for creative growth. Like you can't just ever be like, all right, well, this is where I want to stop. No, you got to just keep going.
Yeah. And I love that. And I could talk to you guys all night about craft and just like keep on going with it. We got to get you guys both on an episode of Spooning just to like talk for 2 hours about this.
Yeah.
But thank you guys first off for coming on the show and also being like vulnerable with like the ability of the constructs that really go into comics and the pain and like the grit you have to have and the patience you have to go into
Yeah,
comics. You have to believe in yourself and you have to take on these challenges. And I think that's why these shows are so great because like every episode is just like this was really hard, but we made it through it together, you know. And
yeah,
it takes a
Yeah.
community to kind of make even a piece of art, a comic to even come into fruition and out into the world. And I'm so hyped to get a copy in my hands of it as well. So that's where can we get copies of Relic Hunter 2 right now?
Right now, it's available on CosmicLionProductions.com. There are new things in the works that haven't been announced yet, but there may be more easy ways for you to get a copy of it in the future, which is really cool. And of course, I'll be doing shows, so I'll be at
Yes.
Heroes this year.
yeah.
So
I'll be there too.
if you're at Heroes, I'll be at the Cosmic Lion table with
be
Eli.
there
So
too.
come and see
Yeah.
me and Manny and hang out. I'm gonna do some commissions ahead of time, so follow me on Instagram at Adam Lemnah. I'll be at Permanent Damage here in LA on April 19th, and that's going to be an incredible show. You know, it's punk rock and it's at Permanent Records, and so there's like a rock show and a comic reading and a comic show. It's amazing, and you know, I'm trying to think. I mean, I haven't heard about IC3 yet, so I don't know. I mean, I assume I'll be in IC3,
Yeah,
and
I mean, I'm
then
the same.
Which
there's
ones
gonna
are you
be
guys going to? Providence
I'm
or
going-
Jacksonville?
I'm going to Providence. I think I can make it to Jacksonville. It's a bit of a drive, but I can drive there, so that's a lot easier than having to worry about a plane ticket. But
Yeah.
there's no way that I'm not going to go to Providence, man. I mean,
I don't know where I'm winding up. I just found out it's the same weekend as Baltimore, so I know
Yeah.
we sponsor
And
both
SPX.
events typically. So I'm just and SPX.
Pretty sure, yeah, because Baltimore is always the same weekend as SPX.
damn, that's a
As well.
stacked
They,
weekend.
they moved it to September. I mean, yeah, back to September. Because typically Baltimore's in October, which is annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, now that it's back in September, it's lined up right with SPX. So
Oh, SPX is September 12th. Am I wrong? Let me see. I think
Let me see.
Baltimore and the other ones are okay. SPX is like a week or 2 weeks before.
it's
this
the
year.
week before. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
That's
cool.
fantastic.
I might go. I always
Okay,
try to
good.
at least go to SPX for a day. If you know,
I
I
love
might
SPX,
table, but we'll
man.
find out.
Oh man, I'd love to do it again. I'm just waiting to hear, obviously. I mean,
Same.
so many of these things are like I'm just sort of waiting to hear on what's gonna happen for the year. You know, but what I know, obviously I'd love to go to Jacksonville. I'd love to go to Providence. There's gonna be another comic art fans, like one of the comic art fans digital
Online,
web online ones, and I believe that's in May. I
Yeah.
think is that
typically in
right?
May.
Yeah, and so obviously I'll have art up there as well. You can always contact me through my Instagram at Adam Lemnah or my Facebook at Adam Lemnah or my website adamlemnah.com.
All those are in our episode description as well, so you guys can find all his contact. I love that though. Good play.
All that Adam Lemnah stuff.
Yeah, and you can find me on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram under X. I'd buy that for $1 X, which is a RoboCop reference. If everybody has a wondering what it means, RoboCop's my favorite movie. So, but yeah, man. But I mean, I love talking comics with anybody. So anybody can feel free to message me, and I love to get into a long, endless chat chain about comics because they rule.
I love it. Guys, thank you so much for tonight. This was such a good especially during my like allergy attack day. I have no idea what was going on with my nose this whole episode. But I'm glad that I had like an episode of Talkers because it really made it easier for me. But you guys rule. Thank you guys. So I'm gonna miss you at Heroes. Unfortunately, I'm missing Heroes again. It's the same weekend as Warp Tour, so I'm going to work.
I get it.
I'm gonna go see
Punk rock is important too.
Yeah,
right? I get it. I just drove to Miami for a show. So.
100.
Yeah.
So it's one of those. It's a toss up. But I'll see you guys somewhere eventually this year on the road
course,
on
man,
the
yeah.
event. So I'm really hyped.
Oh yeah.
But I can't. Whenever you guys want, come back on Spilled Ink, and for
Anytime, man.
our audience as well. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. This has been a great evening. Check out next week. We have Devin Whitlock coming on, and then we'll be talking about Zelda Awards, and then we'll be doing I think who's coming on after that? I'm trying to think. Jason Sean Alexander is coming on sometime in April, and some more guests. So we have a lot of cool stuff happening with the show. And the print shop tomorrow, 3 p.m. Come hang out with me, Dan Hills, our CEO, and Chris, our marketing director. Ask us some questions. I don't know what tomorrow's episode is about, but we will find out tomorrow. So hit us up 3 p.m. Other than that, Ian Cinco, you rule. Guys, thank you so much for hanging.
Yeah, Ian rules.
Ian, you're
Thank
the
you,
best.
Brandon.
Dan, thank you. Tony, thank you. Everybody for coming to watch the show
man.
today and hang out.
I haven't been able to see
See
who's
us
been watching, so
pontificate.
but thank everybody.
Yeah. All you guys, we need to get all of them on the show one day because they're all phenomenal creators. Honestly.
Oh, yeah.
They're all great people.
Absolutely.
But thank you all. You guys have a good one.
Print your comics with Comix Wellspring.